Hey, thanks for checking out my channel. I'm Tom Neiman. This is Paint and Draw with Tom. Today we're going to explore a new space for me here in the Poconos called Knob Overlook, located in Mount Pocono here in Monroe County, which is right in the heart of the Pocono Mountain region. I'm going to be painting in watercolor, and just look at this scenery. You have beautiful, expansive views of the mountain range along the Delaware River there. You can see the Delaware Water Gap. You can also see Camelback Mountain and Big Pocono State Park off into the distance on the right. And it is said that you could see into New Jersey and New York State as well. So we're going to just have a little fun. We're going to move some stuff around in the interest of serving the little painting that we're going to do. I'm going to be painting in my Stillman Birn Beta Series watercolor journal, and I will do a landscape, a panoramic style landscape painting today. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to go ahead and clip my journal wide open right into my little easel that I have already set up here. It is a little chilly, one of our first mornings that came close to freezing temperatures here in the fall of 2025. But I'm going to go ahead and paint in watercolors exclusively and see what I can get done in about an hour or so. I'm going to clip this footage, so this video is far less than an hour. It'll run no longer than 25 to 30 minutes. That's for your convenience. And occasionally I'll come in with a little narration with the intention of providing insight into my process that I'm following here today. While I'm laying out my brushes and some other gear, I'm already starting to pay attention to the scene, trying to assess what elements in the scene I will include in my painting. This is an extraordinarily expansive scene that I could in no way reduce down in size to paint the kind of painting that I would enjoy looking at and still get all of the elements within the field of vision on the paper in my journal. It just won't happen. So I'm gonna have to edit this quite a bit. I'm gonna focus on getting the Camelback Mountain, also the Delaware Water Gap, and what I believe might be the actual Wind Gap area all the way to the left into view, even though if I were to sight size this, they would never all fit together on this paper. I'm also gonna get the water tower, and I'm going to try and focus on building a sense of depth in the scene through the use of atmospheric perspective and also linear perspective to some degree. But I'll do that a little bit more intuitively than scientifically. For starters, I'm just going to go ahead and lay in some light pencil work so I have some guidelines to work with as I start putting my initial washes of watercolor paint on my pages. Okay, now it's time for our initial wash of watercolor. And we're going to start with that sky color, which is going to be a mixture of ultramarine blue and a little tiny touch of yellow ochre. However, the mixture of paint on my palette will mostly consist of water. And I've also already wet my paper. I put a little layer, clear wash of clean water on my paper because I want this sky color to flow around the page, even down into the shapes within the painting that will consist of the land within view here within this scene. My hope is that that will help further accentuate the atmospheric perspective and provide a kind of layered look to the mountain ranges off in the distance that are more of a blue-gray. So we'll go ahead and we will put this wash in, and we'll try to make sure that the saturation or the intensity of the blue is a little higher toward the top of the pages, intending to suggest depth within the sky plane. If you look up at the sky on a sunny day like this one, you'll notice in most cases that the sky toward the top of the scene that you're looking at will tend to be much more intensely colored. Closer down to the horizon line, you will see, even on the clearest of clear days, due to us having to peer through layers and layers of atmospheric dust and particles, it will tend to seem a little bit more gray or white. Generally, from a painter's perspective, you'll want to make those areas a little bit warmer, and that will help you build that illusion of depth. So I'm going to try and do that. And I'm just going to work my way through this painting, starting from light to dark. Generally, I'm going to work from back to front. And when I get to the very front of the scene, you'll see my darkest, most intense, highest saturation-based colors toward the foreground. So I'm going to try and work my way through. I'm really focusing on avoiding making this painting too tight. I want it to be loose and painterly. I want to get through this within about an hour. That's something I struggle with, in particular with watercolors, because they're probably my least familiar preferred medium. But I'll do my best today, and I'll make sure to have some fun along the way. Before we move on, I do want to share a little bit of history. The Knob, as it's called here in the Pocono Mountains, has been a spot where folks have gathered to take in the scenery for a long, long time. Some suggest that there's documentation showing visitors coming to the Knob way back in the 1800s. So just recently, within the past decade or so, I believe it might have been in 2011 actually, the township of Mount Pocono Borough actually memorialized this space and took the effort, made measures to ensure that this is preserved as a green space for generations to come. Also, this particular area, while I've lived in the Poconos for over 25 years, this is my first visit to this spot. It offers pretty convenient parking and some nice areas where you can walk along the scenic view and around back through a loop that will give you some views of the neighborhood that this space exists within, and also some wildlife and wooded areas as well. Now we're laying in the initial layers, intending to indicate the shapes that make up those distant mountain ranges, which I believe are the Kittatinny Mountains, but don't take my word for it. And that is a mixture of ultramarine blue, sap green, and a little bit of yellow ochre. Once again, mostly water at this point for this initial wash. Now I'm adding a little bit of sap green and also a little burnt sienna and additional bits of yellow ochre as I come forward with each layer. Now my goal is to lay in a quick wash and cover the entire page here. And within this journal, these pages are 7.5 by 7.5 inches. So when it's open like this, when I'm painting a scene that crosses over 2 pages, it's actually 15 inches by 7.5 inches in total. This Stillman Birn premium sketchbook is intended to be used for mixed media and multi-techniques, as it suggests, based upon how they market their products here. It's high quality. I've really enjoyed using it. It accepts dry and wet media, watercolor, ink, and other materials. Ones that I enjoy using, like casein, for example, and acrylic paint as well. It's available in a couple of different colors, and they also have a couple of different formats or dimensions that are available. So that's what I'm working on today. It is cold pressed paper, and it has a nice surface that has kind of a slight texture to it, and it is pure white. So it's very nice to paint in watercolor on for sure. At this point, you may notice that I'm leaving pretty expansive areas of pure white on the page, particularly just off to the left-hand side of the journal. You'll see almost a halo or outline shape that is intended to reflect the shape of the water tower that's in view. I'm going to leave that space white. I'm going to protect that area as best I can, so I can use the white space to help render or at least suggest some of the details within the water tower, particularly how the light is catching the left-hand side of the tower. Now, speaking of light, this area is, I imagine, a particularly wonderful spot to view sunrises. So I definitely hope to come back sometime soon and take a peek at the sunrise coming over the mountains off in the distance. I missed it today just by about an hour. I got here a little bit later than I hoped to, but I think it's going to work out anyway. I'm enjoying taking in this scene and figuring out all the little challenges along the way as I try and render the scene and suggest some of the details. So my goal here is to, again, leave that white space open, not only for the water tower, but also for potentially some of the buildings that are on the long plain leading up to those mountains in the distance. You can see some rooftops and commercial buildings that make up the landscape. So I'm going to leave those white spaces open as a means of suggesting those details. I may forego them in the end, we'll see. But I just wanted to kind of clue you in as to what my thinking was here as part of this painting process. Now, in addition to that, what I'm trying to be very carefully mindful of is to use vibrant colors and use them initially as light, unsaturated washes, because you could always build in saturation. It's hard to remove saturation from watercolor, so it's always best to start light and then work toward dark, light to dark, unsaturated to saturated. So that's what I'm attempting to do here. And we'll get on with it. You know, one of the challenges, which I actually enjoy most times with painting in a watercolor journal book like this, especially when you're cutting across both sides of the journal and painting in this panoramic landscape type format, is dealing with the crease that exists where the binding actually sits. So it is creating some wave effects, if you will, in the landscape, both on the ground plane beneath where I'm standing and also off into the distance. I'm not going to let that deter me. I'm not going to grow too concerned. We're not looking to achieve perfection or photorealism here. We are just looking to create or capture the essence of the scene here on this beautiful fall morning. Now, as part of the process, I'm going to start building in more saturated, darker hues up close to that edge of the highlighted side on the left-hand side of the water tower. And I'm going to do it very slowly and gradually and carefully by darkening those areas, even more so than I might observe in the scene itself. It'll help accentuate and enhance the brightness of that side of the water tower and help it stand out. It'll help create three-dimensionality. It'll create the illusion of realism even though if you were to look at this painting up close, there is nothing tight or realistic about it at all. And you can see how the water tower itself kind of just emerges from what was just moments ago in this sped up video process, just a white blob in the middle of the landscape. I'm going to add very carefully some gradated shadings on the water tower. The darker side is in shadow on the right hand side, and also the darkest shadow of all is going to be on the right hand side, but underneath the cantilevered overhang on the bottom of that top portion of the water tower that you see there. So we'll very loosely render that, suggesting those details, and we'll move on. And then one last thing that I'm going to do here as I get closer to finished, after laying in layer upon layer of colors, including yellow ochre, including cadmium red and cadmium orange, and also a little bit of cadmium yellow light, once I get through that and fill in this whole space, I'm going to try and create the effect of mists and clouds, if you will, at the base of those distant mountains. And we're going to do that by lifting out some of the pigment that is partially dried at this point in time. But before we get to that point, we're going to continue to make our way throughout the foreground and the midground of this landscape, and also occasionally touch up that water tower, which is a key element of this painting. Morning, how are you?
Take pictures, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, just sketching out a little watercolor. It's my first time.
Oh, I see that.
First time here.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, moment of truth here. Or as Bob Ross would say, here's your bravery test. I'm going to get some clean water in my brush and wipe it out and then load it up with quite a bit of water now that the painting has dried quite a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little wash of clean water at the base of those mountains off in the distance. I'm going to get that water on there so there's a decent film, even layer of water across the base of the mountain, and I'm going to come back through with a clean paper towel and we're going to lift out some of that bluish gray pigment with the intention of increasing the intensity in the illusion of that mist at the base of the mountain or the cloud cover, which sometimes will hover in the river valley. And we're going to go ahead and use this same application, this same technique on the larger mountain on the right-hand side, which I believe is probably Camelback. It looks like there's some patterns that are indicative of some of the ski trails. So we're going to use the same technique, but we're just going to use it with a little bit of a lighter touch in order to push that mountain back a little bit as well. We'll see how it works out, and then we'll be close to finished with this little watercolor sketch that we're going to complete here on this fall morning. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're still with me following along, please take the time to like and subscribe to my channel. That helps ensure that you get similar content like this, and perhaps maybe share with a friend that you think might enjoy this as well. I'd really appreciate that. And we're going to go ahead and get that little bit of wash on that mountain range and lift a little bit more paint off. And we'll be almost in the home stretch. Well, there you have it. We'll call this one done. Nice little journal entry here on this wonderful fall morning. I really am enjoying and appreciating how this little painting in my watercolor journal is coming out here. A lot of what I hoped to achieve, I was able to accomplish by way of the suggestion of detail and so forth. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider checking out this video up here that the YouTube algorithms suggest might be a good fit for you as well. Take care, be well.